Oh, now you got a nice little backlight like Matt has.
Yeah.
Just make sure your head covers it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to position
No,
myself.
don't be paranoid. You'll
Yeah,
never be
don't
able
worry
to.
about it. It's fine. It's fine.
I've got a dog on a pillow behind me. The background's...
Yeah, but that's cute.
I've got my
It's
new
not that cute.
live on air thing that Jenna got me for my birthday, but
Yeah,
I've not
sick.
plugged it in.
That's
and
great.
I need to figure out where it's supposed to be, so that'll be for next week. It's just back there for now.
Well, it's supposed to be on the door outside your recording
Yeah.
studio, I assume, so that people know not to come
True.
in. We know you're recording
Yeah.
because we're
Yeah.
on the show.
That's a
Yes.
good point.
Is this the
Yes.
show?
This is the show now.
Welcome to Multiple Nerdgasm with your hosts, Matt, Luke, and Dan. Multiple Nerdgasm, your guide to all things nerdy.
Getting out of frame. It's annoying me. How do I go back there?
But it's you're only out of frame with us because you're taking up a third. Your camera is still recording the whole frame. Oh, you've got a Vietnamese beer.
I
Very
do.
good.
I have new drinking
Vietnam
rules.
makes very good lagers.
He's on vacation. We know you don't have to keep telling us, Luke.
No, but I've got a new rule.
Stay drunk the entire time.
Because it's so hot here.
if he's never sober, he can't get drunk.
I go one beer, one water, one beer, one water.
Oh, okay. That's not a
That's
bad
the rule
rule.
I've got
That's
here,
not a
'cause-
bad rule. I mean, technically speaking, your water consumption should vastly outnumber
Yeah.
your
I
beers.
was gonna
but,
say the
but I
rule-
have a feeling that this is an improvement on the norm. So
The
I'm
way
going to
he
let
said
this
it
go.
there is slightly different to the way he's internalized it, which is if I drink a water, I can have another beer.
Yes.
When we were in New York, it was if I have another hot dog, I can have another beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I ate so many hot dogs.
Because either the hot dogs came with a drink or the drinks came with a hot dog, depending on
didn't matter
how
which
you want
one.
to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Depending on your frame of mind. Yeah. Yeah.
That was that weird one where I met this cop who was going to give me his badge if he had a spare one with him. It was really weird.
Thankfully, he didn't. And
That
I
is-
think he knew.
That is a
he
weird
knew
thing
that.
to do as a cop. Yeah.
That wasn't your only cop interaction that holiday, though, if I recall.
No. There was another one where a guy was so drunk and his pants were falling down, and I mean, like, pants falling down, exposed penis.
Some guy.
Some guy. And I had flagged down the police to go, hey, this guy's drunk, and they've gone, thank you. Like,
3 minutes
well, they
in,
don't want to handle.
and that's
They
dick
don't want to
news.
deal with that. Who
No,
wants to deal with a drunk guy with his dick out?
not me. That's for sure.
No. Drunk women with their dicks out, though. Oh, yeah.
I have a story about how I arrived in Vietnam.
Does it have to do with drunk women with their dicks out?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
So,
Disappointing.
arrive.
Go on.
All good. Get here. I've been panicking about my drugs that I take because they're sort of you need a prescription for, and they're
But you
they're
do
sort
have
of
a
higher in
prescription
the end.
for them.
I
to
do
be
have
I
a
was going to say
prescription.
you've got one. Yeah.
I've got one, but still worried about it because they say you can only bring in a certain amount, and I checked with the embassy and they said it's fine, take it in. And I get there and no one's asking for it. So I walk up to customs, go, I need to declare something.
I
and
want to
said-
tell you about my drugs.
Yeah.
I basically said, what
You're
I
in my
said
anus.
word for word was, I have drugs.
Right.
Of course you did.
That's not the thing to
And?
yell in a Vietnamese airport. I then
No.
quickly corrected to medication and I have prescription and they laughed at me.
Right.
Well, that's the best case scenario, all things considered. Where was your wife while this rigmarole was going on?
She was next to me and was embarrassed about
Pretending
me
she didn't
as
know
normal.
you.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's her default mode when standing next to you, I assume.
Well, there have been times where she has just gone, I'm going to go through this different customs line because I've got a different passport.
Yeah, I
Oh.
get to do that sometimes.
That was my experience of arriving
Fantastic.
there just to yell, I have drugs in an airport in a country that doesn't like drugs.
That's like the time I was just coming back from a cruise to Sydney, to the Pacific Islands, and I bought some stuff while we were away and had to like shove it into my suitcase. And you still have to go back through customs, even though it was just going
When
on
you
a
say,
cruise. You still
maybe clarify what you mean by stuff.
No, don't do it.
Clothes, and I bought those cups that are fish that cocktails come in. I had a whole bunch of weird stuff that I bought on this cruise because
As David Fincher said, we never imply ownership of the dildo. It's always the dildo, not your dildo.
But I had to like sit on the suitcase to close it, right?
Yep.
And so we get up and they were just checking everybody's suitcase, and then so I popped it up on the table and I said, "Oh, careful, that's going to explode when you try to open it."
Oh no!
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't take kindly to jokes like that.
Even
I didn't even mean it
jokes.
as a joke. I was just. Oh, I mean, I did,
of
but
course.
I didn't mean it as. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't cracking a
Amazing.
joke. It was, hey, it's gonna.
It was nervous, like my stuff's going to fly out.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Even though you know you've done nothing wrong, you still get nervous going through.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
I got checked going into some Southeast Asian country, and they were just pulling random people out of the lines to do bag checks, and I got pulled out, and this other lady got pulled out, and she was like, please don't open my bag," and they were like, "Well, now we're definitely going to open it."
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
like, please don't do it out here," and they were like, you should shut up, and we're definitely going to open your bag.
Or yeah.
It was the sexiest, sluttiest lingerie. So much of it.
Just a
So
bag
much
of
of it.
lingerie.
No, but it was all on the top, and all of her clothes were like, I mean, unless she...
Oh no! Don't open my suitcase.
My favourite is still when you got checked coming back from Disneyland, Matt, and all your R2D2 stuff was there.
Yeah, you like
And the
R2D2?
guy's like,
Cool.
he's like, yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah. That was funny.
So I will admit, I'm going to
Luke,
have.
you're in Vietnam.
Mhm.
You, we know you don't drink coffee because you don't like hot drinks, but in Vietnam they drink the most delicious iced coffees on the planet. Have you had a Vietnamese iced coffee?
I am not yet. I am going to try an egg coffee.
Okay,
What is
I've been
that?
told. I
going
have
straight
no idea.
for the weird stuff.
We've been on
Yeah.
a few like walking tours, and both the tours recommended an egg coffee.
Is it
Okay.
coffee with an egg in it, or a coffee in an egg?
Oh,
I'm going to
Let
go
me
with
know.
the coffee with
Yeah.
the egg
Yeah.
in it. Yeah, but I'll let you know next week because I'm going to
Each
try
to
one
their own, I
today or
guess.
tomorrow.
You'll be
Luke,
laugh-
have you ever
you'll
been to
be-
the Philippines?
No.
In the Philippines, they have this dish called balut, which is an egg, but they let it gestate till halfway before they
Oh.
take it and cook it, and it's an experience.
Is it nice without
No.
thinking what it is?
I mean, they love it. They love it. But the thing is, you can't not think about what it is.
Yeah.
You can't. It looks like it's looking up at you.
I did find something strange because everyone's been talking about the street food here is good, and it wasn't until we went on a tour we found out what actually street food is. Street food here isn't like the side of the road street food. It's actually still you go into a restaurant type of thing, but it's
Right.
normally it's like someone's house or something. Like the lower levels
Sure.
just where they serve food, but there's no. They just want you to go in, eat, and get out. You're not paying. What to explain? You're not paying for service. You're just paying for the food, and each of them have their own like special recipes. So if you see a place that's empty, it's not because it's necessarily bad. It's just because they've just basically fed people when they've left. So it's a good place to maybe go in because there's no niceties. It's plastic chairs where you're sitting basically on the floor on a small table.
Yeah.
But the food is amazing.
Yeah, good food, right?
And cheap beer.
Lots of beer.
Well, I travelled recently.
You
I
did.
went to New Jersey, as listeners and viewers from last week will know. I was down
You know
there.
why? Because fuck old Jersey.
Yeah, that's right.
Is there a
went
Jersey
to-
somewhere? Jersey
There
in
must
England?
be, right? There's
Yeah.
Must be,
York.
'cause, like-
So there's New York, there's Jersey.
Yeah.
There must be.
But New York is not named after York the place. It's named after the Duke of York. I learned that recently.
What?
It's the new one of them.
I guess so.
I didn't know that. Well,
I'm sure
is
they
there a Vegas?
acknowledged New York was a place. It's not like they were going like, you know what this place looks like. It looks like the Duke of York.
Yeah. Yeah. When I look at that tree, you know what I think of?
Yeah.
Or that island, I suppose.
Yeah. Or the this tribe of Native Americans who already live here that want us to leave.
They all look like the
One
Duke
of them looks
York.
like the Duke of York. They're using his catchphrase, fuck off.
I was down in Jersey for VCF East, and I just wanted to mention that it was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
If
that sounds
you're
awesome.
in the area, I highly recommend it. If you're into old computers, I got to use a Lisa, one of the old Lisa Apple computers, the predecessor to the Mac that was very, very unsuccessful because it was $40,000 equivalent of about that. And without it, we wouldn't have the Mac because they learned you can't.
Yeah.
sell
If he'd been a
computers
little
that much.
nicer to his daughter, we would never have the Mac.
Yeah, exactly right. So that was cool. Yeah, a bunch of classic
Very cool.
Macs, a bunch of Commodore stuff. I bought.
Did you touch the Lisa? I've never
Yeah.
touched
Oh yeah,
one.
yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Its
I
little
opened up the Word.
screen, its tiny little thing. Yeah.
Yeah, opened up the word processor. Typed. I am typing on a Lisa.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything else to write.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
How much
Using
money
Lisa,
did you spend?
just like I used her sister.
I tried not to spend too much money. Right. I bought.
You tried.
I tried. No, I didn't.
You
spend that
actually
much
showed
money.
incredible restraint if only the
Yeah.
stuff you showed us was what you bought.
Thank you. That's how I feel too. I
Yeah.
purchased an original copy of The Colonel's Bequest. That was the first thing that I bought. And it was only because I went to the consignment area. The consignment area in there was very dangerous for me because there was so much stuff. And in fact, there was an Atari ST computer there, complete with monitor, disk drives, everything like that. And I always really wanted one of those when I was a kid.
Definitely.
So I'm standing there looking at it,
16-bit.
and then I took a photo of it. And as I was taking a photo, the guy, because it's consignment, so like the people who own the stuff are hanging about, but you buy it
Standing right there.
through VCF. So this guy comes over and he goes, "You can have the whole lot for $400." And I was like, "Don't do that." And I said, "Nah, look, honestly, I can't." And he goes, "Oh, it's in really good condition." And I said, "Oh, I really want one when I was a kid." And we were just chatting about it. I was thinking, "Oh, I'll just deflect and then I'll walk off." And he goes, "All right, $350."
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh man."
You're not doing this as a haggle thing. You don't want it. But you're saying, "No,
that's
I
right.
can't buy it."
And
This is
I'm
my
not going to buy it because
nervous
I don't
way of trying
not want
to.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah. So this is my nervous
Like,
way
mate,
of just
I
trying
do
to have a
want
chat,
it.
and then
And eventually you'll get
away.
to a number I'll have no choice but to say yes.
Yeah, yeah. Eventually. So I said, "Oh, I'll have to have a think about it," and then I shuffled off. But yeah, so the consignment. I went in the consignment area first, and I saw Colonel's Bequest was there, and
For what?
And I was like,
For
"Oh,
what,
that's tempting." $30.
Yeah, sorry, for what system?
MS DOS. Like, yeah.
Are you going to be able to play it?
Well, in theory, it's on 3.5-inch
it's scum
floppies.
VMs.
So yeah, exactly. It's more about it's
Having a box to go on
Man,
the wall.
I've thought about writing a short list of games that are just like my favorite games, and then just trying to track down. Those
I didn't buy it
boxes.
to play necessarily. It's more about kind of the nostalgia and like I don't know. It's
a great game.
It's one of those games that I have really fond
It's a
memories
frustrating
of.
game.
It is, but I remember it was very engaging. It's basically it's an adventure game, but you're solving a murder and
Yes.
like there's you walk around the
Or
house.
not.
Or it's
You can still finish the game. You could solve it with the wrong person. You could solve it with no one at all.
and you go through like secret passages and look through the eye holes of paintings, and you can observe conversations happening. It's a really cool game.
So it wasn't as punishing as other games where if you got something wrong, it was just game
Luke,
over.
well, hold on. No, because
depends.
time
Depends
of
on what
day
you're trying to
counted in this. So certain events would only happen before or after certain other events happened. So if you didn't pick up an item before someone else came and cleaned it up later,
yeah, there's literally
well,
a clock ticking
forget it.
as the game goes on.
Yeah.
And
It's
sometimes
interesting.
you're like, I've done everything. I don't know what I have to do. And what you have to do is just wait until the time when the game is going to do the next thing.
Yeah.
That would be
cool.
frustrating. I don't like that game.
It's a great game.
Because I'd be panicking I've not done something.
And it's all set in this, like, I don't know if it's Savannah or Louisiana or somewhere.
It's like a plantation
somewhere down
somewhere, I
south.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, in this big plantation mansion. It's great. I got nostalgia for that game too.
So I grabbed that because like I said, I went in the first time I saw it there and I was tempted and I was like, I could keep looking around because it's pretty big. It's set. It's a set. It's the event takes place. I'm talking like I'm talking about a video game. The event takes place in an old military base.
It's all set in a convention hall.
It's all
You
military
play
base.
as me.
Yeah,
You've got a certain amount of money to spend.
Not to spend all of your money because you have a family.
Yeah.
It's an old
Your
military
life
base.
meter is actually just your baby's food ticking down on the top of the screen.
Or the gas that you have to get home again
to get
afterwards.
back. Yeah. Oh, that'd be a good game.
From New Jersey, because that's a 4.5 hour drive.
Oh, you drove?
Yeah. It was
yeah.
kind of all right actually.
Drop a couple of podcasts on, away you go.
Exactly. So I bought that after coming back to consignment. It was still there, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll get it. And then I also bought. There's a guy there. His name's Eli. He was selling like games, like he had Commodore 64, Atari, and DOS games, brand new in the shrink wrap. Right.
Wow.
I bought 3 Commodore 64 games. He sells them $10 each or 3 for $20. And I said to him, I asked him, where the fuck did you get these? Like,
have you had
like
them the whole time?
Brand new. He was a wholesaler in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
He owns the building that he stored all this stuff in, right? He made a lot of money obviously back then. And so he's just had this stuff in a building that he owns from all the money he made. And then at some point he was like, what am I going to do with this shit? So he just started coming to VCF for fun. And he's like, oh, people probably buy it here. And so he just sets up a table, fills his car up with whatever he can fit.
Yeah.
Drives.
And the rest can come next time.
Yeah, he said, and I said, do you sell them online? He was like, nah, maybe I will one day.
Wow.
But like,
so you're gonna have to go back and see what he's got next time.
Yeah, every single time.
I said,
so what
can
did you
I email
get this
you
time?
and ask if you have certain things?
Yeah, do you have a catalog?
Well, I asked if you have Zach McCracken, and he said, I know I don't have that because I looked, because he said he wanted a copy for himself.
But does he have Batman?
The Batman the movie? I already have that, but he did not have it there. He had Batman the Caped Crusader, which is another Batman game, which I bought that. I bought Rambo 3 because I played that when I was a kid, and I saw the box and I was like, well, I'll have that. And I bought the Nightmare on Elm Street game for Commodore 64, which I also played.
Very cool.
So I found 3 that I was like, okay, I've played these, so I'll take them. But they're like I said, they're in the shrimp rack.
Yeah. So you're going to leave them in the
shrimp rack? Yeah.
Nice.
Well, yeah, there's no reason not to. It's like Luke, you asked, can I still play the Colonel's Bequest?
Yeah,
I can because I own it on GOG.
Sorry.
I'm not going to put those discs in anything.
Sorry, floppy disks or cassettes?
These are floppy disks, 5 1/4 inch.
5 1/4.
Nice.
Yeah, the Commodore 64 got a 3.5 inch drive late in its existence, but I don't think they ever actually released any
I couldn't imagine
production software on it. I think it was just you could use it, but
people just pirated the games onto them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then on the last day, I went back around.
You could store a very, very decently sized game for the C64 on a 3.5 inch floppy disk.
Yes, there were some games that were multi 5. So a 3.5 inch floppy holds 2 5 1/4 inch floppies, I think, right? Or because it gets confusing because there's double density.
Is it only 2?
It might be more than that. It might be 4.
Maybe the early ones were only 2.
Yeah, and because there was the 5 1/4 inch floppies, you could flip them over too. Some of them.
Oh, that's true.
Yes.
And the ones that you couldn't, you could use a hole punch to chop the corner out so that you could, but then it would not last very long. And then the last day I bought some hardware for my Commodore 64. I bought an Easy Flash. I bought a cartridge slot expander so I can plug 3 cartridges in, and I bought a network card for my Commodore 64.
What?
Because I can put this thing on the internet.
That's amazing.
Are you going to do it?
Well, I'm sure Perry Fractic has a tutorial.
How are you going to watch porn now?
So I was like, that seems dangerous. But so my Commodore 64 is right here in front of me now. This doesn't have any writable as far as I'm aware, stuff in it. So it's not like I don't think this could get infected with a virus. Like something could potentially trash the disk that I'm running things off.
You just press clear all, and anything that was on there
in
go
theory,
away.
yeah. I'm gonna have to double check that. Like I guess I don't think there's a lot of risk just kind of jumping on and browsing some websites on this for funsies. So
yeah. So
Just
there's
so
actually
not a lot of
I assume this is the
money
same
in
for Commodore
malware
64
for these.
because I know some people have put their Amigas online, and there are websites you can go to with a list of websites that are Amiga friendly, because obviously you're not going to be able to view every website on an old computer. So there's probably that for C64 too. So it'll tell you which sites are worth visiting on your Commodore.
Yeah.
So
I
you
thought that'd be
didn't buy
fun.
the Atari ST though? Is
I did not. No. I didn't
No.
buy any computers. I did see the. So I got there on late on the Friday, and I went, and none of the displays weren't open and the consignment wasn't open. It was just the talks were on. So I got there on the Friday. I went and I saw it. I watched a panel in the afternoon, and then I went back to the hotel and did the show with you guys. So the next morning was technically the first real VCF experience.
Yeah, everything was
and
open.
And I parked and I was walking in, and this old man was walking out with a big smile on his face with a TRS 80 in the box under his arm. And he was just going, good morning, good morning. He was so fucking happy. And I was like, this is going to be good. Like, the vibe of this event is good.
amazing.
And it's just like stuff at sort of a reasonable price as well.
100%. Like, so I met a few people there. Made some friends there, and I was talking to somebody, and I said, this person had a Commodore 64 set up with a power supply that I was like, what is that power supply? It looks fucking sick. It was like this metal box, and the cable was like detachable, and it had all these switches on it. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And he said, oh, this guy makes them. I'll give you his contact details. They're really good. He just, if you email him, he'll make you one. And I was like, all right, cool. And he said it'll power a Commodore plus 4, 64, 128. Right? And I said, oh yeah, I've always wanted a Commodore 128, but they're really expensive. And he goes, well, it depends on who you know, doesn't it? Come with me. So then he takes me across the room and he introduces me to this other guy. And he goes, you've got a Commodore 128 that you were looking to get rid of, haven't you? And the guy's like, oh yeah, I need to make sure it works. And he goes, oh, give me your email address. And like, yeah. So if you're into that stuff, like, get your ass there.
Yeah,
that'd be sick. I want a VIC 20. Let me know if you come across a VIC 20.
There was some in the consignment area. You should have told me. They weren't cheap. They're a couple $100. I mean, cheap is relative, I suppose. A couple $100 is a lot.
They're back to being the prices they were when they were new.
Yeah, exactly.
Ironically.
Yeah.
but I still like
the
it.
guy. I saw a talk by the guy who invented the VIC chip, Al Sharpentier.
right.
I literally,
right.
He was a couple of meters away
That's
from me.
amazing. Yeah, I've heard
talk about
him talk on podcasts. That's great.
But it does sound good because I know that like the used game market for like newer games is getting ridiculous with people trying to sell like Zelda games for hundreds of dollars, even thousands now. So this is actually good that they're reasonable price, so you can still buy them.
Well, it's funny you say that, Luke, because I've like, you know, I think all three of us have that collective vibe, right? That we just we want, but
Sure.
But I'm also I need to narrow it down for myself, right? Like. And Matt, you've chosen the C64 and you're buying stuff for the C64. Like, you've made your decision.
So, yeah, because the first one I had makes sense for me.
Yep.
And mine was the Amiga, but I don't own that much Amiga stuff. But I have been thinking, like, I want to just pick an old computer or a console and just see how much I can get. But, like, even I feel like I've missed the boat with some of the early stuff because they're just so expensive now.
Yeah.
They're just so expensive. So I'm thinking, like, do I just go, fuck it, PlayStation 1? You know what I mean? It's still nearly 30 years old.
Try and get in ground floor on something that's not yet too
just before
costly,
it takes off, just as it's entering retro, just
all
get
the stuff we should have
as
kept.
many garage, stuff I had,
But maybe the way to do it isn't to go online for it, is maybe go to these conventions.
Yeah, I'd love to actually. I do keep a lookout, but there's so many in America and Europe as well, and not so many here.
Not many here.
I learned as well. So VCF is the Vintage Computer Federation, right? But that's actually a separate entity from VCF East. VCF East is a thing on its own. And this guy, someone I was talking to, said, yeah, there's like hundreds potentially of these events because the Vintage Computer Federation is a trademark, but VCF, they never bothered to enforce that. So there were just all of these things, right, called VCF whatever. And so people go, oh, that's VCF. It's completely unrelated.
Yeah.
So
it's how people used to treat Comic-Con before Comic-Con got famous enough that it could start threatening.
Trademark or whatever. Yeah.
Because there was a point where it'd just be like Atlanta Comic-Con because it was a comic convention.
Yeah, they renamed a few of the ones around here, I assume for that reason, because they were like, oh, lawsuit coming. I wanted to mention a story or an anecdote that Al Charpentier told, because I thought this was really interesting. When he was at Commodore, he did the VIC chip, which was the video chip for the VIC-20. He did the VIC-2, which was the video chip for the Commodore 64, obviously one of the biggest selling chips of all time. So he was doing really well there. And he pitched Jack Tramiel? The guy who owned Commodore, I'm blanking on his actual surname. He pitched him on what he wanted to call the Commodore 80, and it was mostly interested in games. He said it's a keyboard, it's going to have a screen built in because he wanted a higher resolution than you get on a TV. It was going to have a screen built in. And he said basically the thing he described was the Mac, and they said no one's going to want that. It was too early, right? And so he got disillusioned and he quit, and he said, "Fuck it, I'll go get this funded myself." And then he said he kind of got funding at one point and it all fell through. And then he was trying to figure out, he and a couple other people that he took from Commodore, they were like, well, fuck, we need money, right? So what do we do? And they came up with this thing. And I've seen this on YouTube. I've seen someone make a video about this. They came up with that thing where you would get an Atari VCS, Atari 2600, and you put a keyboard over the top and plug a cartridge in. It would turn it into a 8-bit computer, a very simple 8-bit computer you could do word processing on. So this guy Al built the prototype of this, and it was literally looked like this, and then there was a keyboard that went on, and they said, we need to charge this much money for this thing. We're going to go pitch Atari on this. We need to charge this much money for it. So it needs to look more expensive than this. So what? Yeah. So the day before they went into Atari, he took 3 cartridges, glued them together. Yeah, like only one of them had anything in it, right? It was just a little chip inside one of these, right? And then there was the keyboard thing, that membrane that went over the top. And then he got like a big power brick, right? And then like put the cable in the side of the cartridges, just not hooked up to anything. And then when they went into Atari, he set it up and they made a big show of like, go plug this thing in, go plug this in, and all this kind of stuff. Because it's like they need to think this is really complicated.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. And so that thing's out there somewhere. I've seen YouTube videos of like people demoing it.
That's incredible.
Fucking smart dude. And then he built the sound chip that he founded Ensonic, made the sound chip that's in the Fairlight, which you would have heard in the Terminator 2 soundtrack.
How do people do that type of stuff?
Dude's just fucking smart, man.
Just be.
Yeah. It was the nerdiest panel I've ever experienced. People were asking such technical questions, and I didn't even understand all of it, but it was just still super interesting.
Yeah,
like,
I love it when that happens, though. I told you, didn't I, about when I went to see the director of Children of Men doing a talk, and he was like, "We're all film students in here and filmmakers. Just let's geek out. Let's ask whatever questions you want." And it was a curated panel, and I'm like, "Fuck yeah! I'm so glad I got invited to this." But then the curator was like, "How did the actors know not to look into the camera?" And he's like, "What?"
There was a mark on the floor,
garbage
and I
like that.
stood on it.
I didn't know
How did I know what to say?
Were written down in a script.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Al Charpentier invented sprites for the Commodore 64. Fucking invented sprites. Like, this guy's incredible. And he just does
story
talks at these
about
little
how
events.
he left to do his own thing is exactly how the Amiga started too. It was guys at Commodore pitching things internally, got told no, quit, made their own thing, and then Commodore were like, I'm going to buy that off you.
I mean, that's the story of Commodore, really. They got a big hit and then just had no fucking idea what they were doing. Like,
yeah.
obviously.
Commodore 64 is still to this day the highest selling computer of all time.
Wow.
Because I had a conversation, I told you.
Because nobody buys the same one anymore.
Yeah. Right, yeah. This one here is the one in front of me that you can't see, obviously. It's a Commodore 64C, which is what I had when I was a kid. And I told you guys, I'm sure I've said this on the podcast before, I wanted one to fiddle around inside, right, to learn some stuff. So I bought one on eBay, and when it turned up, nothing wrong with it. And so I was like, oh, fuck it, I don't want to ruin it.
You can't open this one up. Yeah.
So I got one from Goodwill, right? I was like, it's really cheap. It's definitely not going to work. Fucking nothing wrong
Works
with
fine.
it, right? As far as I can tell. So I was talking to someone at VCF, and I said, I told that story, and I said, because how many working Commodore 64s out there? And he goes, millions. Don't worry about it. Just fucking do what you want, mate.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, oh, all right then.
Yeah. Actually, I was listening to a podcast the other day about some dudes talking about fucking with hardware, right? And they were like, because people are purists and like, it's got to be stock, don't tamper with the case, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, what you don't understand is these are only people retrospectively projecting that purity on it, because if you owned one at the time, you did anything to it to improve its performance. You know what I mean? Like if you got an extra, I've got an extra card, but it doesn't have a slot. Well, I'm cutting a hole out the back then, aren't I? You know what I mean? And I'm wiring something in, and I'm soldering something onto the sides.
S-video to these, when that became popular. I got an Atari VCS over there. They've notoriously got, video out mods and everything. People have been doing it for years.
You do whatever it takes. Yeah.
So go away, people complaining.
Did you see the photo of the Amiga I sent you? The one with the purple case, looked like Fast and the Furious fucking Amiga with all the lights in it. I saw that and I was like, far out.
There's a dude in Europe who makes steel Amiga cases. So, so they it's the same shape. It's from the same molds as the old Amiga ones, but it's like, you want it to last forever? Here's a fucking steel one.
Yeah, there's someone got one of the old Commodore molds, and they make them too.
It's funny. People have gotten their hands on the actual molds because at some point somebody was throwing them in the bin.
Yeah, well, I guess Commodore was done.
Yeah,
at a certain point. Yeah.
They had two really successful products and just went bankrupt because they didn't know how to run a business.
Because they kept saying no to people with good ideas, and then Anyway, great event. Highly recommend it if you're interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah, is it a yearly thing or?
Yeah.
Yep.
Before
it was honestly
move off video games,
even better than I thought it was going to be. Loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was it enough to fill the time you spent?
Yeah.
I was
thinking my plan was I'm going to go to this panel Friday. I'll go all the day Saturday. I probably won't go on Sunday because I don't know. Yeah. But I got up Sunday morning. I was like, I have to go back for a couple of hours. Like,
nice.
This. So I did.
Did you hear about this this woman who bought 4,000 copies of Alan Wake?
I saw that. I don't understand why.
What?
So she loves Alan Wake, right? So she was just on eBay looking for Alan Wake stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so she found on eBay someone was selling a box of 4,000 Xbox
box.
360 promotional download cards, right? So
okay.
For $250, and she was like, for 4,000 copies of Alan Wake, yes, please. So she bought it, thinking, well, I can just, sell these on individually, or
Oh,
and
no, the 360 store
only
dead.
to realize that you can't use a an Xbox 360 gift card. In 2024, you can't do it. So she's bought 4,000 useless copies of Alan Wake.
Okay, because I saw the article, but I didn't read it. I thought that she did it on purpose, and I didn't understand why. But no,
she was like, you know what?
You're right though. The headlines were like, this woman loves Alan Wake so much that even though she didn't have a fucking machine these could play on, she still bought 4,000 copies.
Yeah.
What did she play it on?
Well, I'm sure she
played the remastered
her
version.
Must have. And I think she probably just played the second one and was like, "Oh, I've got the fucking bug. you know, which everyone does, which is why I fucking drink
still
my
got to
coffee
finish
out
the
of my
first one.
Oh Dear Diner cup now, because
Oh.
when Alan Wake gets you, he fucking gets you.
So
Have you
I
seen
can
that?
still
Yeah.
go back and play the original. I've still got my Xbox 360 copy.
Do you still have an Xbox 360?
Yep.
Oh, there you go. No, I sold mine.
I need to
Have you
I
seen?
need to hit up
Do you
the
guys,
Xbox
do you guys
market
follow
before it closes.
Sam Lake on social media?
No. Should
No.
I?
So, yeah, you should. You definitely should. He's got this thing going at the moment. I think he does it on TikTok, but I'm not on TikTok, but he puts it all on Instagram as well. Because there's this, you know, he loves coffee, right? He just fucking is obsessed with drinking coffee. Drinks like 10
Coffee's
cups a day
good.
or whatever. But his character, Casey, in Alan Wake 2, also is always holding a coffee. And there's this scene where Casey and Saga simultaneously take a sip. It's like, it's a meme now of just the two characters taking a sip of their coffees at the same time. So Sam Lake has created a meme of taking videos of him and somebody else, and the somebody else changes each time, simultaneously taking a sip of coffee. And it'll be like actors from the franchise or other game devs. Like there was one with him and the what's the Death Stranding guy?
Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, Hideo Kojima. Both of them drinking at the same time. Like,
What did I even just say?
Man, everyone knew. Everyone knew exactly what I meant. Well, I wasn't going to say it wrong.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys say it wrong instead.
Sorry, Kojima.
Hideo Kojima? Hideo.
That's better than what
Let's go
whatever I said.
I just go Kojima. Keep it, keep it
Kojima.
safe.
Can I
Like-
talk about a TV show? I mean, I've been talking a lot though. I feel like somebody else should talk for
No.
me.
No, you just need to talk because I have no idea what's happened in
Alright.
the world.
I need your opinion. I know that you've seen this, Luke.
Yes.
I know that you've seen Picard Season 2.
Yes.
And you told me you liked it. And that baffles
I
me.
like
say
a
that,
part
Luke,
of it.
A part of it. All right.
I
I
didn't
haven't
watch
watched all
Picard
of it yet.
Season 1. I'll put that out there.
I don't remember exactly what I said about Picard Season 1, but I think overall I liked it. I just had some issues with it. And
Especially
fucking-
the ending where they turn him into a robot.
yeah, well, this season, I feel like Season 2 decided to double down on stuff that will annoy Matt. And I'm just so confused by this show. I've still got 2 episodes to go. And I know that there's only one way this is going to go. Like, there's no... So,
Has he had his kid yet?
No. I'm feeling
No,
that's not going to be in this
that's-
season. That's probably Season 3, right? I'm assuming. That's not... I'd be very surprised if that comes up in this. But
By the way, I'm going to impregnate you now.
the plot of this season is that...
Sorry, they're just going to clean my room.
Oh.
Right, we can continue.
Yeah, no worries. All right. So the plot of this season is that Picard, years after the events of the first one, presumably, his Romulan
Because he's
house
immortal now.
keeper's husband has died off screen, and they've fallen in love off screen, and that's just a thing now. And he's confused, so he goes to see Guinan on Earth. We'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
But then Q shows up
Yeah.
and transports the brain. He transports them to an alternate world, or like transports their brains only to an alternate world where something happened in the past differently, and now the Federation is the Confederation, and they're all a bunch of racist cunts, and they're trying to wipe out all the other alien races and stuff like that. And then Picard's like, well, this is shit. Let's travel back in time and try and fix whatever it is Q changed, which is and so that because the Borg Queen tells them she can sense. It's just it's a very convoluted thing.
Yes.
So they travel back in time, and I don't want to belabor the point, like, because there's a lot of nitpicking I could do, but none of this matters, right?
No.
It is not possible for them to fix the timeline, considering all of the things that they are doing. They're acting like fucking maniacs in the past, right? Like Raffi steals a fucking police car. What's he? The captain, the Han Solo guy, gets picked up by fucking immigration because he's Latino looking and he doesn't have any paperwork, so they assume he's from Mexico and they get deport him. ICE gets him. Picard gets arrested by the
Even
feds.
in the future, the Mexicans still get a break.
They come back to 2024. They travel back in time to 2024, and they're like, don't do anything that could cause any issues, and then they just fucking cause absolute fucking chaos in Los Angeles, and I'm like, there is no way any of this can matter at the end of this season. So my brain is now like, this will all be
also didn't they learn from previous time travel Star Treks that you don't come back to the present day? That doesn't work.
It's like, and it gets, we could go into like the weeds on this too. I'm not going to. It's pointless. But I want to point out one thing, the biggest thing about this whole fucking season that annoys me, right? And this put me right off at the start. Why? Dan, have you seen Star Trek: The Next Generation? You have, right?
Yeah.
Why is the lounge on the Enterprise D called 10 Forward? And if you don't know for sure, why do you think it's called 10 Forward? Like, what would be a sensible reason for them to refer to a part of the ship as 10 forward? If it was like, say, like a boat, say.
Yeah, like if there was like a floor plan of it, say, and it was, room 10 at the front of the ship, something like that. It's level deck 10. Forward deck
section,
10, sure.
Right?
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay, that makes sense.
That's in the show. That's in Star Trek: Next Generation. There's no disputing that as a fact, right?
Sure.
That
I don't remember the episode where he was like, by the way, it's called this because...
No. They don't, right? Because they didn't have to. Right? Because no one was trying to do weird shit like they do in... Okay, so look, you know what I'm going to say, right?
Yep.
Do you remember this? Right. So
I don't quite, but I...
At the beginning of the series, right, when they're still in the present day, which is the future, like after the events of Picard Season 1, Picard Season 2 starts, and he's still in his correct time and all that kind of stuff. And Guinan, he goes to see Guinan because he's in love with his Romulan housekeeper. He doesn't know what to do. He goes to Earth to where he thinks the coordinates of where Guinan is or whatever, and he discovers that she's got a bar at 10 Forward Avenue in Los Angeles. And I'm thinking, well, that's a bit silly. She looked for a street
what a coincidence.
address that matches the where the lounge is located at the bar that she had in the Enterprise, right? But then she goes back. They go back in time, and he goes to find Guinan, or he goes to find the Watcher, who is Guinan, or Guinan, whatever. It's convoluted. She's got that bar in 2024. And
so you're saying they named the lounge on the ship after the address, the street address.
There's two possibilities
of a bar
here,
she
right?
used to own.
One is the writers of this show for some reason didn't watch Star Trek: The Next Generation and didn't realize the reason it's called 10 Forward is because that's where it fucking is on the ship. She didn't just pick the name for the bar. That's the location. And I looked this up. There's multiple points where something happens and they go, location is deck 10 forward section, and then it shows the lounge. Like, I'm not making that up. That's a thing, right? Either the writers didn't know that, or the writers thought, you know what'll be cool if Guinan fucking requested this fucking bartender went to the Federation and said, I'd love to put a bar in exactly this spot in your ship.
Are there any ships where this particular room is free and that doesn't have a bar already?
I just don't understand.
See, this is a problem trying to force...
do this?
This is a problem trying to force Easter eggs into everything.
Yeah, especially in Star Trek, because even, like, Matt, I would say you're even mid-range pedantic about Star Trek. There's dudes out there taking notes in each episode. You know?
Exactly. I'm not that hardcore. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, wait, it's called that because that's where it is.
Yeah.
Like, even I know that. And
that's George Lucas kind of writing there, isn't it?
It reminded me of, Anakin built 3PO. Like, okay, I mean, I guess, but why? Why would you write that? Well, you don't have to write that. You didn't have to do that. Because now you've got to
explain why he built something that's clearly mass-produced. Okay, maybe he found one and he fixed it, or he found the parts of an unfinished one.
because I looked up online and people are like, oh, maybe because, you know, Guinan's race of aliens, maybe they experience time differently and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, maybe the writers just sucked.
Just bad writing.
Don't try and explain it for them.
Like,
but I can tell you what I did like about Season 2. Alison Pill.
I knew you were going to say that.
I really have to disagree. I'm sorry. I hate
I
hate most of the cast of this show. Their
In
characters
the red
are
dress?
insane to me. No, she just...
Watch Dear Wendy. Please, for the love of God. It's her finest performance of her tits.
These are the worst Federation officers in the galaxy. I'm sorry. The things they get up to in the past,
If that was
when
the
they've been
tagline,
fucking
I'd watch
told,
that
they've
show.
been fucking told, right? Don't do anything that could change the future. Okay, guys. Like, yeah,
Why is it set in
high-speed cheap
2024?
chase
Did they
after you
run out of
stole a
money?
fucking police car. Like, come on, guys. Terrible. Fucking, he's bringing his girlfriend onto the ship with her son. Like, he meets that girl at the clinic. What's his name?
Yes.
The captain.
Yeah, I know
can't
who
remember his name.
I just can't remember. It's
He
been a long time.
fucking they're just bringing people onto the ship with their kids, telling everybody. He tells that immigration officer that they're from the future. He's like, oh, what are you doing? Like, how am I supposed to accept this, mate? It's just so stupid. Anyway, sorry.
But you've only got
That's
2 more
definitely-
episodes. Watch it. It all makes sense.
And I have heard that season 3 is good.
Season 3 is a lot better.
See, you've said that, and but that's the biggest problem I have with it is that I know now, like, there's no way this will stand. Something's going to happen, and Q's just going to zap it all back out of existence, and none of this stuff is going to matter. And so I just don't care anymore. Like, I'll watch it because I'm hate watching it at this point. I know it's going to be wiped out. It's not possible for them to pretend that things are going to be okay after all this nonsense.
Yeah. So, yeah. But, yeah, Season 3, a lot better.
All right.
I'm sick of this. You've got to watch 2 dumb seasons before it starts getting good.
No,
Somebody was...
you can watch Season 3
Yeah,
without
that's what
watching
they say
Season 2.
But
I promise. Like I said, I haven't even seen the end, but I promise you, this is all going to be zapped out of existence. It's not possible that this will stand. No way. And it just annoys me because it's like, why did you write
But to
this?
some degree, I think you could probably even watch Season 2 without watching Season 1.
Yeah, the only thing that would be confusing is that they do refer to the fact that Picard is a robot.
Yeah, but that's sort of
And, like-
it, which I know that's a
Yeah.
bit of a big thing, but that's, yeah, it's just another episode.
They still talk about that, but then he also tells that FBI agent, well, I am human. You're not, mate. You're not human.
No.
You're a robot now.
I think not knowing how Picard became a robot and just having to accept it is no different to watching Solo without having watched the Clone Wars and then just having Darth Maul suddenly back from the dead and also with spider legs. You'd be like,
That's right. Why is he
fuck
there?
did I miss?
So yeah, I know that he came back, but only from hearing about it. I never saw it happen.
No, I never heard about it. I never saw it. And I was blindsided. And then I was like, wait, this takes place before The Phantom Menace?
Oh, yeah. No. No,
I
so
can't remember
confusing.
which nerd I was with. Was
Oh.
like, no, actually, because...
Speaking of slightly confusing, we watched the first episode of Fallout. I assume you
I
guys have watched more now?
I've watched one.
haven't,
okay.
but I haven't because I'm not going to get to finish it before I left, and I don't want to watch it on a small screen. I did watch the first episode again, though.
My overall feeling is that it's quite good, and yet for some reason, it's not compelling enough to make me want to keep watching it. I will, but every time I go to put it on, I'm like, oh, I could watch this or I could watch Seinfeld, and I'll end up watching 2 episodes of Seinfeld.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it
Wait,
just
I
maybe
watched
time
this-
because the episodes are longer?
Yeah, I think
yeah,
it's that
'cause
they're long. But there's shows that are that long that are just like, fuck, what happens next? And this isn't that. I'm enjoying it. It's very good, but it's not compelling.
We are getting a season 2.
Yes, they've confirmed season
Yes,
2 is
it's
happening.
very popular.
Yeah. So I've been watching. I watched season 1 with Jenna, who doesn't like Bethesda games. As
You watched the
I'm
whole
sure-
season.
No, sorry. Watched episode
Episode
1,
one.
I should say.
Yep.
With Jenna, who she doesn't know much about the Fallout universe, to be honest. Like, she's seen stuff, and we've been to Bethesda events and stuff like that, but she's not played the games. And she was very confused by it. And I was like, oh, does this assume that I know certain things? Because I can't help but know, for example, what the Brotherhood of Steel is. And the Brotherhood of Steel, they mentioned the Enclave.
Was asking me that same question. She was like, who the fuck are these dudes? I'm like, I guess they don't really... They do say, like somebody says...
I'm assuming they will. Scrap. They must, right? Because they're not... But, like, either... I'm just curious, at the end of the season, will they have assumed too much? Like, prior
Or would they have filled all the blanks by then? It's a very
They didn't explain the vaults at all. They're just in the vault. They didn't explain
I actually think... From what I've seen from stuff, I think they are going to explain the vaults a little bit more.
In the second episode, somebody says kind of what a vault is because.
Oh, all right, cool. All right.
But actually,
and even in the first one, there's when it says like coming up on the season, you see it looks like the younger brother, who the 30-year-old man, is going to investigate what happened in Vault 32 and stuff.
Yeah, because there's definitely a point where she's in it's Megaton, but it's not. It's called something else, but it clearly is. And somebody, like, nobody is freaked out that a vault dweller is just walking around, right? Like, no one's going, how did you get out? Or anything like this. Everyone recognizes the uniform, even though it's from hundreds of years ago, and they weren't around then.
Yeah, right.
But everyone just takes it for... Yeah, that's right. They take it for granted, but they all say, like, oh, what are you doing here, rich girl? Vaults were for rich people to not get irradiated. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's... Sure.
All right, guys, I'm gonna have to do something terrible. We're gonna have to stop this recording. I'm gonna have to drop out. My computer's about to die. I'm sorry, I leave you here. It is plugged in.
All right.
It's Vietnam, man.
The problem is we're gonna have to end the recording so I can upload.
Oh, all right.
So you have to do a new one. So sorry, guys. I'm not gonna be here for after party, but I didn't say I was gonna be here at all. So you got me. Bye, everyone.
That's true.
All right. All right. We're back without Luke.
Take two.
Thank God he's gone.
He's left. Yeah. Well, I guess those maids tidying up his room were offering extra services above and beyond cleaning.
Tidying up his
and he was like, guys, I'm going to have to go.
They came in and he surreptitiously unplugged his laptop.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I said I was watching Seinfeld. There's this episode I watched today where George gets grapefruit in his eye. And he keeps winking like this. So people keep thinking he means something else. And then he's in his office, and his boss and his boss's wife come in. He's like, anyway, I'll see you after the massage. And George's like, right, your massage. And the wife's like...
I gotta watch that show again.
Well, it's funny today because I was doing the ironing. This is my glamorous life. I was doing the ironing in here. And... And Hui was folding clothes in the lounge room, and she was watching Friends, and I was watching Seinfeld. And so I was seeing a bit of both as I was going in and out, and I realized that Friends is very optimistic compared to Seinfeld. Like Friends, everything works out for them, even if it looks like it won't. It'll work out in one way or another, and everyone feels good at the end. Seinfeld is the opposite. No matter what good thing happens to you during that episode, you'll be back to square one by the end of the episode. Your bad luck will just reset. So you don't watch this to feel good about them. You watch it to feel good about yourself for not being in their situation.
I got to add that. It could be next of the old show.
I honestly don't know if you'll like it or not, and
I didn't like the... I told you, we tried it. We watched the first couple, and I didn't get me. In fact, it annoyed me because it was like there's no end.
Yeah. Well, it that gets worse in a way because I think it gets better and then it gets worse. So in the kind of third, fourth season, maybe third, fourth, fifth, it really got popular, right? No one watched the first season. Some people watched the second, which is why all the episodes are from like third, fourth, fifth. Yeah. Then it tapers
the Frogger
off.
one and all that.
Yes. The episodes start getting more bizarre and and more abstract, and then but now the season I'm up to now, they don't even do the stand-up bits at the start and finish.
That's
gone. And because people say, "Oh, it's a show about nothing." No, it's not. It has a premise. The premise is Jerry's a comedian. How do comedians get their jokes? Weird stuff happens to them through the day, and so the bit that he does at the end is always based on observations he made during the day, during the episode. But yeah, that goes out the window at a certain point. So it really just ends. It just ends.
Yeah, right. Okay, credits roll.
You know who I think is the best actor on it though? Is Jerry Stiller, who plays George's dad.
Oh yeah, sure.
And he's Ben Stiller's dad in real life.
Yeah.
He's been the dad since the first season, but just here and there when you see his dad. But by now they're like, no, this guy's funny. We're writing him into every third episode, at least. So he's just always there.
I saw it was just a thread on X/Twitter, and it's a guy who does like men's fashion. I don't even know how this his threads are very interesting, and so I guess I've clicked on a few, and so now it just shows us all of his threads to him. But he did one about how people think George Costanza is like this kind of schlubby, losery guy, but style-wise,
sure,
he's actually really on point at all times, and he does like a whole series of like George like styles, and it's like
that's funny.
It's always
actually,
like
I made that
correct.
Right, yeah, because right now George scammed his way into working for the New York Yankees, and he's an executive at the Yankees, right? And he wears the most beautiful clothes to work. Like,
there's a whole thing about how it's
he had like these kind of beige slacks and this navy double-breasted blazer with brass buttons. I'm like, that is fucking stylish, you know. And I think at a certain point he gets fired and he starts wearing his tracksuit around again. But
sure, yeah. Well, it's funny because I do like, having not watched the show that much, when someone says George Costanza, I think of him as like a slob,
just a slob.
But he's not.
Yeah,
he's not at all. Well, it's not in this Twitter thread anyway.
One thing I noticed is that Jerry is a sociopath, and I think at the start he's more normal, but by where I'm at now, like there's this one episode now where he doesn't want to comfort his girlfriend when she cries, and and he's always looking at George, and George is always like, put your arm around it, and he's like, don't want to. And then like there's the whole episode's about how like Jerry doesn't give a shit when people cry, like he just feels nothing, and it's like this guy's dark. A sociopath. Yeah, it is a bit dark. Before we move off of Fallout, what was the actor the cowboy actor that you knew the name
Walton
of?
Goggins.
Walton Goggins, right? So I saw this interview with him this week that I thought was funny and probably true, but also just a little presumptuous, because he was saying he's saying he's famous now for the first time in his career, right?
Oh, okay.
Because he's getting good
he wasn't before
publicity.
Okay.
I don't think he was that famous. He was. Yeah, but you liked him. I think people that
fair enough.
Like him.
Yeah. He's in stuff that I like.
Yeah. Okay. So he said that everyone used to just say, "Hey, you're that guy. You're that guy from that thing." Sure. Right? So his exact words were, "I used to be known as that guy. Now I'm known as the sexy ghoul." And I was like, you could have just said ghoul.
Ghoul. Yeah, the ghoul. Yeah. That's the character. That's the title that comes up.
It says the ghoul, yeah. You added
the sexy
buddy.
Ghoul. It doesn't say sexy ghoul? Oh.
Yeah, so it's implied though, right? Sexy is implied.
Maybe he was joking. The sexy ghoul.
Even so, yeah, I mean, maybe. Or maybe women are just fucking going nuts for it.
Maybe. It's that no-nose. They like...
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like Beauty and the Beast with Linda Hamilton and Ron Perlman. And Ron Perlman were like, women would write me fucking letters saying you are my perfect man. He's like, A, I'm a monster. And B, I'm an asshole. Like, I've kidnapped this woman.
Maybe he mistakenly got the letters I sent Linda Hamilton.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah. Come and bench press me.
We've got some follow-up.
Yes.
We've got two pieces of follow-up. One, I think probably we should keep this brief because we've talked ad nauseum about both of these topics, right?
Yeah, but one of them deserves to be talked about more.
One of them, I want to talk about Graham Hancock, right? We've talked about him quite a bit. I'm sure
Always
listeners are
fun for
probably
Graham
sick of it.
Hancock. Doesn't matter.
But
we don't care what they think.
in the show notes, I've got a link. He was on Joe Rogan again, right? And I really think this is worth watching / listening to, no matter what you think. So this is Flint Dibble, who is an archaeologist, an actual
Here's what I think. I used to like
archaeologist.
both of them, and now I don't like either of them. But I still find them both entertaining.
Yes. It's Flint Dibble versus, I guess, Graham Hancock. And it's really good because Dibble's really smart and he knows his shit. And it's 4 hours of, from the way I heard it, I know in the comments people maybe, and from other places on the web, people maybe didn't hear it the same way. But to me, it was 4 hours of Graham Hancock slowly walking back his whole fucking theory and going, well, I never said that.
He does. Yeah.
Until he finds a spot where Dibble's like, well, we don't know. And then he's like, well, we don't know. Well, maybe we should find out, shouldn't we?
All I'm saying is let me do the digging.
I want to play a clip, right? And this happens like an hour in, right? And I'm like, conversation really should be over at this point, right? I'm just going to play this little clip.
But what I'm saying is that not enough of that 27 million square kilometers has been investigated. Only a tiny fraction has been investigated. And that fraction is not enough to draw the conclusion that we can absolutely say there was no lost civilization. Same goes for the Amazon rainforest. Same goes for the Sahara Desert.
But can we say there's no evidence for an advanced civilization in what they have studied?
In what they have studied, yes, we can say there's no evidence for an advanced civilization.
Thanks, Graham.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for actually just saying there is
what
no
we've all been
evidence.
thinking.
Yeah. But is there evidence? Because I think what Rogan was expecting him to go, in what they've shown, and it suggests that we should keep looking. There
were several times where Joe
literally
innocently asks a question like that, and Graham's like, well, I mean, obviously, if you want evidence, we don't have that. But we also don't have is not evidence.
Yeah, and we've got an abundance of not evidence.
Abundance of non-evidence of its non-existence.
And as you know, a double negative leads to proof positive.
It really
Amazing.
is. It does come down to that whole thing of like, he's like, well, you can't prove there wasn't a lost civilization. There's literally a point where he says, Dibble's talking about how there's no evidence of agriculture before the Younger Dryas, and Graham Hancock is like, yes, exactly. So where did it come from? And he's like, I don't understand what you're saying, Graham. There's no evidence of it. And it's like, well, who showed them how to do it? He's like, what do you mean? Who showed them how to do it? Well, obviously there must have been somebody who knew how to do it before, and they taught them because there was no evidence of it
year
before.
After year in the same place,
and he's like, Graham,
decided to cultivate it for themselves.
You're not listening to me. There's no evidence that anybody was doing it before. There would be evidence that the people that you're talking about were doing it in order for them to teach. And Graham's like, well, we just don't know, do we? All right, mate. All right. Fair enough.
Look, I'm no archaeologist. Okay, great. We'll leave it at that then, Graham.
Can you prove to me that unicorns don't exist? Have you ever not seen one? Like,
National animal of Scotland.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, I fucking love Atlantis. I'll read or watch anything to do with Atlantis. Love
even
it.
Dibble says in this, Graham, I love your books. They're fascinating, but mate, it's not real. I just really wish you'd give more. Yeah, and he says that the thing that annoys him is when he goes on this Netflix show and he talks about archaeologists are conspiring to fuck me, and it's like, mate, we're not. We don't give a shit.
Well, it's like I listened to this fucking 4-part podcast on the Kennedy assassination by it's called Tides of History, right?
Okay.
And he's pretty good, and then he always addresses listener questions and mail and stuff at the start of each episode. So at the next one, when it was about something else, fucking, I don't know, the Tudors or something, he was like, I just have to, because he basically said there was no conspiracy Oswald
Yeah.
ain't not alone, right? After all the evidence, that's what it was. And so in the next episode about something else, he was like, I just have to address all of the emails that I got, everyone who tweeted at me saying that I was in on it. He goes, I can assure you, I'm not in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a
but I
whole
agree.
section of that interview. It gets awkward because Hancock's like reading from articles that quote Dibble saying negative things about Hancock, and it's always like he's like, oh, he finds a tweet where this guy said something mean about him, and it's like, what does this have to do with your argument? Like your theory? Like, okay, they were mean to you on the internet. Like, yeah.
Did you listen to the 2 interviews that Sam Harris recently did with the pro-Islamic author? I forget his name.
Is that the guy? So I'm not a subscriber anymore. So I think I've heard the first half of them. That's the guy that he had on, and then he had him back on because the guy had said in some interview that Sam was harassing him about.
So
yeah.
I listen, and I then, after I heard that, went and listened to the first one again, and then listened to the follow-up, right? So this comes also just after Sam. Did you listen to the episode where at the start Sam's like, I'm actually gonna just not take personally when people engage me on Twitter anymore. I'm just gonna people disagree. I'm just gonna say, okay, well, you think your thing, I'll think my thing. I'll keep talking and keep doing my podcast, but if we disagree, I'm not gonna debate you anymore. We'll just agree to disagree. And I was like, okay, that's interesting coming from Sam Harris of all people. In the very next episode, he has this guy on who travelled in. Oh, you pissed, you son of a bitch. Anyway, who travelled in the Middle East. What can I do? Travelled in the Middle East, and lived in all of these different. 2 dogs, man.
Yeah. I know. No. I know the episode you mean. Yeah.
And then towards the end, he starts going. But don't you agree that Islam is just a violent religion? And the guy's like, no, I don't agree. I agree that people who have bastardized it commit senseless violence all the time, but the people that do it properly aren't violent at all. And Sam just disagreed, and it was awkward because the guy clearly was like, I've made my point. Don't keep asking me. I'm not going to change my thing. Right?
Sure.
Sam just didn't hear it. He was deaf to it. Then he gets him back on because the guy says to another guy on another podcast, Sam just wouldn't let it go, which he wouldn't. Then he comes back on and he's like, you're right, Sam. I shouldn't have said anything about you in public. Maybe I should have just kept it to myself or sent you an email saying, hey,
that was not appropriate.
I do feel like you kind of pushed me on a subject that I didn't want to get on. So I apologize for that. And Sam's like, okay, great. Because now I'm going to really hammer in and hold you to task. And the guy's like, look, you can, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to change my mind. I've got the same answer as I gave you last week. And actually, there's a ton of stuff we do agree on that I'd love to talk to you about. And Sam's like, no, that's not why you're here. And then spent the rest of the hour just going, you've got to admit they're violent. And him going, I'm not going to admit
agree.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love Sam. And then after that, he comes back on because I'm still a subscriber. So, yeah, I know. But after that, he's like, well, most of you listening probably felt like how I felt, frustrated. And I'm like, no, man. I felt
not for
like
the reason you think we did.
Yeah. I felt like I was just in an awkward conversation that I just wanted to back out of because you couldn't read the room.
His most recent one with Cal Newport, I found the first part because, like I said, I'm not a subscriber right now, but it made me want to hear. I wanted to hear the rest of that. I find Cal Newport pretty interesting. So
yeah, I haven't listened to that one yet, actually.
No, it's pretty good. It's just about like social media's effect on society.
Right.
And,
yes. He thinks he does a lot of talking about that.
Yeah, he's into like digital minimalism. He calls it, which is basically like, don't be on fucking Twitter all day, mate. It fucks with your brain.
Yes. We don't subscribe to that. In fact, we'd like you to sign up for more content at patreon.com/multiple nerdgasm, where you can join our clan. And for just $1 a month, you can just be part of the gang. Get the episodes a little bit early.
You get the show early and stuff, and you
feed,
get the video and the audio version. Yeah, in your feed.
Yeah, and then for $5 a month, which is actually a discounted price compared to what we used to charge, because it used to be $5 and a blowjob.
That's right. But the police told us we can't enforce that.
Yeah, that's right.
So we just don't tell them. And we hope that you also don't.
Enforcing it.
Yeah. This is what happens when Luke's
What's the
not
after party? It's more content.
It's more
Just
content.
like
We're going
this.
to talk about. We've got some more follow up. We're going to talk about Rust again.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't entice you, we've got, what else have we got here? We've got we've got some James Bond news, or James Bond follow up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Some Zack Snyder follow up. And we've got some.
Please tell me they're unrelated, Matt. Please tell me that the James Bond news and the Zack Snyder news are not the same news.
Patreon.com/multiple nerdgasm to find out.
That's all for this week. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you enjoyed it, then please subscribe in iTunes to receive episodes automatically. We'll see you next time.